Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Praise the Lord. God bless you guys. I wanted to share a story with you. Many of you guys heard it in different ways, right? I was at an all time low in my life. I was clean. I was making meetings. I was doing service. I was writing steps. I had a sponsor. I was sponsoring people. And the character defects that I was suffering from, suffering in silence, suffering out loud. At one point it became embarrassing. Many of you know what a parody is. I became a joke. The enemy made me a joke of a recovering addict. I was a comic example of what a recovering addict should be. I was not good for a bad example. That's what John C., my first sponsor, used to say. He held no punches. And so I couldn't stop acting out in my character defects: lust, control, insecurity, self centered fear, guilt, shame, ego, pride. Just I was being ravaged by my defects, very similar to being ravaged by the drugs before I got clean, right? So I couldn't stop. I wanted to stop, just like the drugs. I couldn't stop. I didn't have the power. It seemed like I was defenseless against the defects and this enemy of my soul and the disease. And I couldn't resist temptation. I would say, I'm not going to do this. And then 3 minutes later, I did it. And I was at an all time low. And there's a line in the literature of recovery that says, we found that we can no longer live with or without drugs. What is there left to do? And so the enemy was giving me a book study, right? I don't know if you ever been in a real dark place where you lose all hope. Clean. I'm talking about when you're on drugs and you try. There's a despair of drug addiction that it's horrendous. Where you know that you're never gonna get clean. Nothing has worked for you. What's worked for others has not worked for you. For some demonic reason, for some reason, you are helpless and hopeless, and you're gonna die a dirty drug addict. I've been there. When I got clean, I never thought I would visit that place again. And so I'm clean, and life is better when you're clean, right? I started doing push-ups. My skin color changed. I started hearing profound wisdom from other people in recovery, literature. But my defects, character defects, acting out on lustful behavior, insecurity, self-righteousness, arrogance, envy, jealousy, being drunk with proud, being prideful, and just ego and the inner critic, and compare and despair, and just on and on and on I can go. And so I got to the point where I said, you know what, Ray, you can't live with the drugs and you can't live without the drugs. And I was seriously considering taking myself out. I didn't want to live no more. I didn't want to be here no more. I just didn't understand why what seemingly was working for other people, the 12-step program, was not working for me. I had hit yet another bottom, because I've hit many bottom, another bottom, clean, busted, and disgusted. Clean. All right. So I was seriously considering leaving this world. I didn't want to be here no more. I had suicidal thoughts, suicidal idea. I was just struggling. My mental health was increasingly getting worse, progressively worse, because the more you act out, you don't see it because you're in the dark. The more my mental health was getting really bad. The voices in my head were getting loud. The room was getting smaller. It couldn't get any darker. And I just wanted to get out of here. I just was convinced that just God hated me. I hated God. And I was being punished for some, I did a lot of things, just crazy. So let's get to the suggestion that changed my life. He's still alive. All right. He's still alive. He just celebrated 41 years clean. James S. I'm not going to say his last name. And he gave me a suggestion. And he, he was very calm, very soft spoken, very serene. He said, Raymond, did you make 90 meetings in 90 days? I said, yeah, of course I made my, I would get up and go to St. Mark's. I would go to 2 meetings in St. Mark's, and I go back to Williamsburg and make an evening meeting. I made 3 meetings a day, minimum 3 meetings a day, sometimes 4. You go to 14th Street Workshop, you go to St. Mark's, you go to every day. I made a meeting in Williamsburg or in Greenpoint. So I made minimum 3 meetings a day. When I first got clean, I had to get out the house when my mother left. I couldn't stay in the house. So I would go to St. Mark's, hang out, just, the deal. Okay, 3 times 90 is 270 meetings a week in 90 days. So I made a minimum of 270 meetings. And in his loving, serene, he said, wow, you made 270 meetings in 90 days. So you should have no problem going every Sunday to a particular church. He said, I want you to go to this church for 90 days. Before you hurt yourself, before you do something crazy, before you do something that you make a permanent decision when you're in a temporary situation that God can change. He was telling me, he was loving me, witnessing, sharing his experience with me. He had been in a choir at this church that won 6, 7, 8 Grammy Awards now. And I didn't like church. I didn't like Jesus. I didn't like God. I didn't like the Bible. I had trauma, religious abuse, spiritual abuse. Okay. He said, Ray, you made 3 meetings a day. Every day you could go to 1 church service a week on Sunday and go to this church. He says, not all Dominican restaurants have the same quality food. Not all Puerto Rican restaurants, not all restaurants, some places are better than others. He said, this church, I know it has got good food. You know what I'm saying? It's healthy spirituality. It's not. And I didn't want to hear it. I was like, no. I don't want really spiritual, not religious, blah, blah, all the stuff, all the excuses, all the fight in me. The disease was fighting for its life. The enemy was yelling in my ear, no, we're not going to church. He said, once a week, 1 Sunday a week for 2 hours. He said, can be the thing that he says, you got literature, you got the tapes. We had tapes. You got meetings, you got service, you got sponsor, you have a lot of wonderful tools. He says, but you don't got the main ingredient, he told me. And it wasn't like I was happy to hear all this. He said, you need a working relationship with God. And I didn't take the suggestion immediately, but I suffered some more, and I thought about killing myself. I really was and so my sponsor told me, before you do something, like that, won't you try God? You need God. You don't got an information problem. You don't got a support problem. You got support. You got information. You got a God problem. The only one that can help you in step 6 and 7, for those who know 12 Steps Fellowship program, is God. God is the one that's going to do for you what you cannot do for yourself. God is going to give you power you don't have. God is going to allow you to overcome the limitations of your past. And God. And I was like, I don't want to hear this God stuff. But I was done. I don't know, you know what I'm talking about. I was done. I was breaking my own rules. I was drowning in shame. I was self-hatred was at a all-time high. My mental health was deteriorating by the minute. And so I ended up going to church, this particular church. And it wasn't comfortable. Walking in wasn't comfortable. Getting there wasn't comfortable. Walking to the building was difficult. Walking to my chair was difficult. Sitting down, the music was difficult. Everything it wasn't like I walked in and everything. No, it was hard. I was doing something I didn't want to do. I was taking a suggestion I didn't want to take. I wasn't feeling it. I didn't get goose pimples. It was trauma. I thought about what happened to me and God and where's God and the enemy, my head. But I did it. I showed up early. I stood there I wanted to leave many times. There's a lot of things I heard I didn't like, I didn't agree with. The music, the people worshiping, it was just a lot. There was like 29 things that told me to get out of here before the guy started preaching. And then he started preaching another 29 things, you know. So I did the 90 and 90 for 3 months. I went to church. I had four years clean, 4.5 years clean, almost 4.5 years, whatever it was. It was at 4 years I was at my worst. So 4.5 years is when I got saved. Long story short, just so I found myself coming forward. There was like, I don't know, 5,000 people, maybe less, but going from the balcony, walking down the stairs, walking to the front of the church. It was not one of the longest walks of my life was going. I knew God was knocking on my door. I knew it was my time. I knew he was talking to me. I needed to surrender. I needed to get my white key tag in that setting, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And my life has never been the same since. It's been 28, 29 years. It was 4.5 years. I got 32. I'm going to have 33 years clean next month. So, the 29 years, 28.5 years. But I didn't get zapped and transformed, but I felt I broke, I cried, I wept. I had an emotional, salvic experience. That doesn't happen to everybody. It was emotional. I couldn't believe I was, I even felt uncomfortable crying. I was crying that day. I just felt so much crap was coming out of me, and I just couldn't stop. I mean, it was an ugly cry, the ugly snot cry. It was, cry. I had some stuff inside of me that was getting cleansed out, and I gave my life to the Lord. That 90 and 90 changed my life. And so, the rest is history. You guys know what's happened in my life now. I became a pastor. I started the Recovery House Worship, helped other ministries all over the world, and just incredible. Preaching in Turkey, preaching in here, preaching over there, preaching in Africa, preaching here, preaching there, making meetings still. I'm still a recovering person. I don't break traditions. I don't go. I understand the house, the rules of the house rules, or the rules of the house. You guys know me. I speak all over. I don't like to mix apples with oranges. God's given me the grace to be mature and to maintain my language when I'm here and my language when I'm there, and to speak Spanish to my grandmother because she don't speak English when she was alive, and to speak, you guys, I speak recovery language when I'm in the rooms, Christianese when I'm in a church, and so forth. We're doing a 90-day challenge, modern 2024 90-day challenge. I'm encouraging everyone. I invited my sponsor, my sponsees, my sponsee brothers, their sponsees, my nieces, my nephews, my sisters, my brothers, my sons, my daughter, my wife. Everybody has been invited. I can't, I'm just extending an invitation. The next 90 days, the next 12 Sundays, the first quarter of the year, I'm inviting everybody to accept this challenge, encouraging you to come to Arhau, specifically Arhau online on Zoom, from the comfort of your home. You can be in your car. If you have to work, you can put the earbud in your ear. You can listen. You can take a lunch break. If you're traveling, you can be in your car. I'm just for 12 Sundays. I want you to experience. I want everybody to experience what I experienced. Now, you got to show up to grow up. I had to go and show up there. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like what, you guys heard. So I'm encouraging you for the next 12 weeks, show up to Arhau online on Zoom. I preach for 45 minutes to an hour, or I have a guest, Pastor Randy, Pastor James, Gladys, Louisa, somebody, I don't know, maybe we get Jimmy T, or we get Randy Q or somebody. And so next 12 Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern, come show up to church on Zoom. The Zoom ID link is there. You can go to rhow.org, rhow.org to see our Zoom link. Every Sunday for 12 weeks, for 90 days, I encourage you to come on out. Now, there's a part 2 to this, and there's a part 3 to this, and there's a part 4 to this. Part 2 is first show up. All right, show up. Make a commitment every Sunday, once a week for 90 minutes, because I preach for 45 minutes to an hour, and then we have a sermon discussion where people raise their hand, they ask questions, they ask questions, or they share the experience, share the hope about the sermon, what they got out of the sermon. It's 90 minutes on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 90 minutes once a week, 4 times a month for 3 months. Then I want you to take a journal. I want, okay, whatever happens this month in January, however God provides, whatever doors He opens, whatever doors He closes, whatever prayer He answers, however God provides for you, whatever miracles may manifest in your life, whatever God does in the next 90 days, we want to document it. Okay, we want to write it down. Say, listen, January 17th, look what God did. February 3rd, look what God did. March 2nd, look what God did. And we want to just take a journal. We're going to be in a group. We're going to be sharing and caring and and after those 90 days, we're going to select from those people who showed up every Sunday, perfect attendance every Sunday, the people who journaled and who participated, who want to be a part of this. Because you might just want to show up and take the challenge. Okay, we're going to take, I don't know how many, 12, 15 stories and put them in a book. All right. 90-day challenge 2024. We want everybody to know what God did in the first quarter, January, February, March in our lives. Okay. So I want to encourage you. I'm doing a 31-day challenge right now. I want more wisdom, more presence, more power. I want to be more impactful, more effective. I want more blessings. I want to be more of a blessing. I want more in 2024. And I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that it's not because I didn't do my part. I want to leave no rock unturned. I'm being thorough in my pursuit of God, my pursuit for next level of my recovery. I want to go to the next level of my spirituality, next level of my financial, next level of my physical health. I lost 80 pounds. I'm writing another book. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Join me on this journey in 2024 to be all that God has called us to be, to experience all that God has called us to experience all the freedom that God has called us to experience, and so forth. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. I hope you take my challenge, my loving encouragement to join me. I don't care what faith you come from. If you're little faith, big faith, no faith, doesn't matter. But I'm especially asking all my friends and family, and then all my people in recovery. If you go to any 12-step fellowship, join us. Let's create this story together. Let's write this book together. Literally. All right. I encourage Arhal I don't care what Arhal you're from. I don't care if you're from Recovery Church Movement, Recovery. All are welcome. Just for 90 days. I just got this. I got a sense of expectancy that God can do some incredible things. Right. I'll give you an example. It's day 4 today. And God has been doing some incredible things in my soul, in my heart, in my mind. That, I'm excited. I'm blessed. I've been so blessed by this 31-day challenge that I'm involved in. Okay. And I put the link up on my Facebook. So if you want to join the 31-day challenge, it's still open and it's free. So you can join us there. This is a free challenge, obviously. So I just want to encourage you. I made one Sunday service a week for 90 days. And 19 years later, 18 years later, it's absolutely impacted my life in ways. It impacted my family's life. It's impacted many of your lives because of my relationship with God. I've been able to share with you what I did, and how, I've been able to speak all over the world, preach all over the world, started a coaching business, help people with the kingdom. I just started a kingdom-minded recovery coach course, kingdom-minded. So we're going to train people of faith to be recovery coaches using the Bible and their faith as a guide to help people recover and come back into recovery or continue their recovery. Or you guys understand. And so all that 90 and 90, 290 and 90 changed my life. My first 90 and 90 getting clean in 1991, let's say. And then when I did 90 and 90, when I had 4.5 years clean in church, changed my life. 290 and 90s changed my life. Join me. Let's write this book together. I love you. I hope you feel my heart on this. I'm excited. I know God's going to move. I pray that you join me and that we can do this together and we can document and share with the world in this book what God has done in these 90s. I love you. I see you Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. The Zoom link is up there. The Zoom information is there. You can go to rhow.org for more information on the Recovery House of Worship. I love you guys.